everyone, have you ever attempted to say something to someone without even a smidgen of sincerity? Or is there a genuine glimmer of attachment, but the medium's cues only influence the message? Hello, my name is Ellie, and in today's video, I'm going to discuss with you the Sharamdaram systematic model, which is my own form of communication model. This model is used when the sender sends a message with an affinity signal in every conversation she has. And then, there is a medium in the middle where different cues are present. And it is up to the receiver whether he takes the message with an affinity touch or a normal one based on the cue that he received. Such cues include the sender's tone, proximity, and even facial expressions. To understand further, let us see these sample situations. And for our first situation, Mrs. Almonte, a high school English teacher, was having a meeting with her class after school to discuss some issues that have been bothering her. Mrs. Almonte started the meeting by expressing her concern about the behavior of some of her students. However, as she spoke, her voice unintentionally became louder and more forceful. She did not mean to raise her voice, but her emotions got the better of her as she talked about the importance of discipline and respect in the classroom. Some of the students shifted in their seats and looked uncomfortable as Mrs. Almonte's voice grew louder. A few of them looked down, avoiding eye contact with their teacher. In the scenario, the sender is Mrs. Almonte, the high school English teacher, and the receiver is her class of students. The medium of communication is spoken language, as the teacher is speaking to her students during a meeting. The cue in this scenario could be the teacher's change in tone and volume when discussing the behavior of her students. The unintentional raising of her voice could be interpreted as a sign of frustration or anger, which could have an impact on how the students receive her message. So, the feedback in this scenario comes in the form of students' reactions to Mrs. Almonte's message. Some of the students shift in their seats and look uncomfortable, while others nod in agreement and thank their teacher for her concern. You see, cues are extremely significant in assisting the recipient in decoding the information. Even if it is conveyed with affinity, cues acting on the message will alter the receiver's entire decoding process. Now, let us also take a look at our last scenario. Irish and Roger, a married couple, had just come home from work. They were both tired and had long days. As they sat down on the couch to relax, Roger noticed that Irish was limping. Roger asked his wife about what happened and if she's okay. But then Irish sighed and explained that she had slipped and fallen on her way to work that morning. Roger's voice unintentionally raised a bit as he exclaimed, "Why didn't you tell me earlier? You should have gone to the doctor." Irish was taken aback by Roger's sudden outburst and misinterpreted it as anger. She began to cry, thinking that Roger was upset with her for not taking care of herself. In the scenario, the sender is Roger and the receiver is Irish, his wife. The medium of communication is also a spoken language, as Roger and Irish are having a conversation on a couch. The cue in this scenario would probably be Roger's raised voice, which was an intentional expression of concern for Irish's well-being. Irish misinterpreted the raised voice as anger, which triggered her emotional response and led to her crying. Remember, the Sharamdaram systematic model is a communication model that requires the sender to properly analyze the message to be encoded before encoding it with a suitable purpose, perfect audience, transparency, and honesty. The medium, as well as the cues, are critical components of the process because they determine how the message is decoded by the recipient. Everyone, as cliche as it may sound, should always think before they speak. Thank you so much for taking time to listen.